Okay, so today we're learning about momentum and impulse. Okay, so what is momentum? Momentum is denoted by a lowercase letter p, and it's the quantitative measure of inertia. Okay. It's basically telling you how hard or easy it is to stop an object. I should say a moving object. It is a vector quantity, and it has a formula. So little p equals little m times little v. This is the formula. It's on your formula sheet, where little p is momentum, and that's either in kilogram meter per second or a Newton times second. One or the other will work. M, of course, is mass, as it always has been. It is in kilograms. And V is for velocity, as it always has been, and that's in meters per second. All right, so that's momentum. And then we have impulse. Okay, so an impulse. We like to denote it, some people like to denote it by a capital J, okay? Or I think on your formula sheet it literally just says IMP. Let me look real quick. So here's your formula sheet. Yep. And so there's P is M times V, and then there's P is this, which is impulse. So impulse isn't even listed on your formula sheet, so it doesn't really matter what we call it. So I usually call it IMP instead of J, because J confuses me between energy, because that's like a joule of energy. So it's not terribly important what you call it. But this is a strong, short duration force is applied to an object. Okay, the impulse, it is equivalent to the change in momentum. Okay, so technically J, or IMP, whatever you want to call it, is equal to force times the change in time. Well, the change in momentum is equal to mass times the change in velocity. So in essence, if we put these two together, then force times the change in time is equal to mass times V final minus V initial. This is in your formula sheet. This is what we're going to use over and over and over. Okay? So, example of how impulse works. Okay, so you're going to have to just, not make fun of my drawing skills here. But, so let's say I had a car. Oh, God. We're going to try for a car. This is going to be bad. Yep, that looks terrible. And it's moving. Let's say it's a 500 kilogram car. It's a very small car. Okay, it's moving at 15 meters per second, and it hits a haystack. So I guess this is what hay looks like in a stack. Okay, and it comes to a full stop. Okay. Same car, different situation though. Let's say we have the same car, and I'm going to try and draw it the same, but no promises. I have really terrible drawing skills. Which sucks because my children are both very artistic. Same car, 500 kilogram car. It's moving at 15 meters per second. And instead of hitting a haystack, it hits a brick wall. And it comes to a complete stop. So, I want to know. Sorry, I don't have COVID. Just a little phlegm. All right, so I want to know which has a greater change in momentum. And I want to know which experiences greater force. Okay, so let's call this one A, and we'll call this one B. So this is car A, this is car B. So which has a greater change in momentum? That's a trick question. They are the same. They have the exact same change in momentum, because change in momentum is dependent on mass, final velocity, and initial velocity. They have the same initial velocity, and they have the same final velocity. Final velocity, v equals 0. Right? So they have the same mass, the same final, then the same initial. They have the same change in momentum. So they're the same. But which experiences a greater force? Okay, so that's a little different. The force is equal to the change in momentum, right? Times time. So force times time. So what's going to depend on which one has the greater force? It's going to depend on how long it takes to stop. So think about how long it takes to stop when you hit a haystack versus how long it takes to stop when you hit a brick wall. So which one is going to be quicker? The brick wall. You're going to come to a stop very quickly when you hit a brick wall. You're going to come to a stop a little slower when you hit a haystack. So since this one is so high, or so short, I'm sorry, if the time is really low, then the force must be really high, okay? So for the brick wall, the time is really high, really low, so the force must be really high. For the haystack, the time is higher, so the force is lower. So they're inversely related to change in momentum, okay? So whatever happens to one, the opposite must happen to the other. So which has a greater force? It's going to be the brick wall. So situation B, okay? The reason it's going to have a greater force is because it takes a lot less time to stop. Quicker stop, higher force. Longer stop, less force, okay? So I know that you probably have known somebody or somewhere something about collisions, and so trying to be slightly sensitive, but this is physics, and this is something that you're supposed to know, not just as a physics student, but as a consumer. But all safety devices aim to increase the time of a collision to reduce force. Okay, so all safety devices. So that means, for example, helmets, airbags, bumpers, like on your car, the sports pads, like where you wrestle or do gymnastics, like all of those aren't the only examples, but those are examples of things that are kind of squishy. And so if they're kind of squishy, they increase the time of a collision and they reduce the force of that collision. Same change in momentum, whether you're stopping on a hard floor or whether you're landing on a squishy pad. But if you're landing on a squishy pad, it takes a lot longer to stop than it does when you just hit the floor. So, all right, so let's do another example. Okay, so here's another example. A 200-gram ball is thrown at 20 meters per second, strikes a wall, and bounces back at 15 meters per second. If the ball contacts the wall for 0.3 seconds, what force did the wall apply to the ball? Okay, so 200 grams. Grams is not a normal unit for mass. We're going to have to change that to kilograms, right? So I know that I'm looking, they give me time, I'm looking for force. I know that the impulse, or J, whatever you want to call it, is equal to the change in momentum. So force times time is equal to m v final minus v initial. Okay? I'm looking for force, so I'm going to divide both sides by time to get force all by itself. So mass is not 200, it's 0.2 kilograms times v final. Okay, so look at my initial coming in is 20, going out is 15. Those are different directions. So one of these needs to be negative. So I'm going to make the 15 negative. So I'm going to say it's negative 15 because that's the bounce, minus my initial coming in, which is 20, over the time, which was 0.3 seconds. Okay? So now my force is equal to that. Okay, so 0.2 times negative 15 minus 20 divided by 0.3. And I get negative 23.3 newtons. Okay, so this is the force that the ball struck the wall with. But I asked, what force did the wall apply to the ball? That's Newton's third law. It's equal but opposite sign. So technically, the force that the wall applied is positive. It's the opposite sign, but the exact same amount of force. So the force that was applied to the wall, by the wall, is 23.3 newtons. The force that was applied to the wall is negative 23.3 newtons. Okay? Okay, so that's it for impulse. Do a good job on your homework. Good luck.